this road I'm on is my way. The balance of things around me, well, it puzzles me more every day. Still I've known love that lasts through the ages, and I've cherished the hearts that danced with mine. And there's so many things I would understand if one life was enough time. And I'm wondering why all God's people can't share what was given us all. It saddens me to think down through the centuries that mankind could still be that small. Still I've known love that lasts through the ages, and I've cherished the hearts that have danced with mine. And there's so many things I would understand if one life was enough time. If one life was enough time. Doing that spirit says do. You got to do, and that spirit says do. Do 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 do. Doing that spirit says do. got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do, 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 Spirit says do. You got to sing when that Spirit says sing. Sing when the Spirit you says got to sing when that Spirit says sing. Sing, sing, sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing, oh Lord. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 Spirit says sing.
You got to groove when the Spirit says groove.
You gotta be grooving, you gotta be
You've
grooving.
got to groove when the Spirit says groove.
You have got to groove.
When the Spirit says groove, you've got to
to
groove, oh Lord. You've got to groove
got to
when the
groove.
Spirit says
groove, says groove.
Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove. Spirit says groove.
You got to rock when the Spirit says rock. You got to rock when the Spirit says rock. When the Spirit says rock, you got to rock, oh Lord. You got to rock when the Spirit says rock. 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 Spirit says rock.
Check it. Yo, I had the call before I walk and now I do the 1-2 step. I heard the Spirit and it said the groove, yeah. That's why I do my own shuffle, tapping feet, clapping hands. If you could talk, you could sing. If you could walk, you could dance. Spirit told me bless the track with the vocals, and I come around your city rocking with the locals. Fading out, got my eyes closed. I think the Lord talking to me, gotta get up all in my zone. Candle gazing after doing Kundalini. I wrote it in my journal, trying to find the true meaning. It ain't gonna happen overnight, I really ain't stressing. I'ma get the blessing. I don't need Google directions, I just follow Spirit. I think I start to hear it. The elders talk about alignment, I just started getting near it. Walk along the path, with or without a clue. When the Spirit says do, I make it do what it do. Come on.
Do when the Spirit says do.
Oh yeah.
You got to do.
Y'all know what it's like when the Spirit says do. I mean, you just gotta do what it do. I know right now some Spirit talking to you inside and it's telling you to do something. And whatever that is, go with it. Alright? Spirit says do. Spirit says do. Spirit says do, and you know what? I'ma do what I do. You go ahead and do what you do. And that's how we gonna do what we do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, baby. Hey, 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 hey. Oh yeah.
Good morning. I am glad that so far the Spirit has moved you to come join us here. We are very glad to be together, even if virtually. This is All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church Online. Actually, if you drove down line in the city we live on, you'd eventually get to us. But we are a church built on covenant, not creed. We're together on our promises of how we aspire to live together and in the world rather than believing alike. It's not something that you find in a whole lot of churches. It's our challenge and it's our covenant. So we try to treat respectfully people with differing paths and opinions. To that end, always you are welcome with us, no matter who you are. We're thinking that we're going to be continuing online stuff until at least the end of the month. We're getting closer to that, and then we'll reevaluate and see what's happening. We front load these services with some information. We do them live so that they feel as much a part, of being together as we can be. I am the only one here in the sanctuary, but I try to bring you here with me, and I try to feel you where you are. I hope you will do the same, and at this point, I invite our board secretary, Kathy Osuch, to share some announcements with us after this brief musical interlude.
Okay, I guess it's my turn now. Okay, I'm Kathy Osuch. I just want to repeat what Barbara said, that for the whole month of January, we will be doing virtual services because of the Omicron variant, and then we will reevaluate where we're at in February. So please join us. There'll be a virtual coffee hour today after the service. There's a link in the email that invited you to this service. Our volunteer of the month for January is Bennett Upton, who has been, in addition to board president for several terms, just a wonderful all-around volunteer, just doing many things, as well as particularly getting us up into the 21st century with lots of online and virtual stuff. And anyhow, he's done amazing things, as well as being a great board president. Our Zoom lunch is moved to Tuesdays. Again, there's a link in the announcements that were sent Saturday. We're going to have a congregational meeting on January 30th at 3 o'clock. It's going to be via Zoom. There will be a link. There's a link. There'll be a link sent to you before that event. If you haven't yet submitted your 2022 budget, pledge, please do, because the congregational meeting is to pass a workable budget for this year. So please get your pledge in if you haven't already, and attend that meeting. Our giveaway the plate for January is Volunteers for Youth Justice. Every month we give away the plate that's not any items that aren't marked for pledge, to a worthy organization. This year it's Juvenile Volunteers for Youth Justice. They do a lot of wonderful things to help children who are caught up in the system, so to speak. They have lots of different programs that are very helpful for those children. You can send a check, you can donate online, you can do lots of other things. Our church is currently working with a group that's going to try and help Afghan refugees get resettled in this country. And they're looking through sponsor circles. Bennett Upton, again, our wonderful volunteer of the month, is helping this. So if you want to know more about this, please email him. Again, there's a link in the announcement. And we're still hosting the Salty Chalice Saturday night. We are still trying to work on the Island Blessing Dinner, which is back to being carry out only, but they still need volunteers. We co-host the first Thursday of the month, but any time is welcome. And Larry Andros continues to do his wonderful Saturday morning sitting Buddhist meditations. Currently, they're on Zoom at 10:30. On Saturdays, there's a link to that also. And that's all I can think of.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Hi, that's me. Sorry. We are live, definitely. I think Kathy covered most everything. We do have adult religious education every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and it is open. You're always welcome to join us. We have been doing a podcast series that we're about to wrap up. It's Learning How to See with Brian McLaren. We've been listening to the podcast on our own, and then getting together on Zoom to discuss the different episodes. We discuss different questions about it. It's been a good group. We've had some wonderful conversations, and you are always welcome. We would love for your insights and your energy to be added to that space. So again, if you are not on the weekly email, I know there's information for you to sign up for that and get the Zoom link and show up. We would love to see you and have you with us. We're a pretty welcoming group, and we always enjoy new faces and new voices. Children and youth religious education is still on hold. We are not going to try the Zoom thing again, at least not right away. We're hoping with more children available, having vaccines available, to be able to do something in person sooner rather than later. And I thank you for your patience and for hanging in there, and I'll be reaching out soon. I believe that is all I have. I do want to encourage you to check into the sponsor circles information that Kathy mentioned. If you haven't already, I think this is a great opportunity for us to, not only our church, but to work with other organizations and individuals to do this for an Afghan family. So thanks, and I will pass it back to Reverend Barbara. And by the way, we're so glad to have you back, Reverend Barbara.
Thank you all. I invite you, if you will, to relax into being here, wherever here is. Take a couple of deep breaths and relax your shoulders and try to be where you are, okay? These words come from Tim Haley. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this time to sit quietly, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on a pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on the earth. I invite Ms. Susan back to the first portion of our chalice lighting.
Thank you. Let's do this together. We're learning this. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the Church of the Loving Heart. Together, with mind, hands, and heart, we care for the earth and for each other. Thanks.
Thank you, Miss Susan. Each month, the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists publishes a global chalice lighting. This one begins with a quote from Goethe, and the rest of it was written by Dorothea Kaufmann. If not the eye was like the sun, it could not see the sun's majestic shine. If not God's magic was in everyone, who could rejoice or anything divine? From the bottom of my very existence, I am pervaded with light energy, shining colors to my eye, warmth to my skin, inspiration to my soul. In this unity of creative sparks and sparkling creation, life unfolds. Let us open our senses to the light within and around us and send it out with shining examples into the world. Is our board person of the day going to lead our unison affirmation for us? I'm not sure. Well, if you will rise in body or spirit and say the unison affirmation with us, that would be great. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the sacred. Thus do we covenant with each other.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far off hymn that hails a new creation.
No storm can shake my inmost heart, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing?
While though the tempest round me roars, I know the truth it liveth.
shake my inmost calm. I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? 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 Keep singing. Keep singing. Keep singing. Keep singing.
I love that song. I love that rendition. I'm so grateful for um, Reverend Barbara among them, but all these choir people who have put together virtual choirs. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and there's some work and some getting over anxiety that goes into it for the individuals who participate too. And just seeing how many phenomenal projects have been done around the country through this, it's amazing. Before I tell you my story, I want to tell you one quick thing we left out in the announcements. There is a virtual social hour today. It is back. Our friend Saul, who joins us for various things from Minneapolis, is hosting it on a video conferencing platform called Jitsi. And he says, don't think of it as having to learn a whole new thing. Just think of it as clicking on a link to see your friends. Um, it's and I think Steve will put the information for that in the chat. It's already there, apparently. Thank you. And join us right after the service if you have a chance to do that. Appreciate it. So today I want to talk a little bit about finding hope and where we find hope. And a story came to mind, and how we look up, how we keep looking up. And a story came to mind that I've told before, called The Rabbi's Gift. It's appeared in various versions. The version I'm telling today is adapted from Scott Peck, but I think it's an older story that he's not sure of the original source. But it goes like this. There was a monastery, very old. historic monastery in a place far, far away, and there weren't very many monks left there. It had been once a thriving, thriving religious order, but over time they had gotten older, many of them had passed on, and there were, I don't know, maybe 20, maybe less, still living in this enormous monastery, trying to take care of it, trying to keep it up. And the grounds were also, they had acres and acres that had belonged to them for, centuries probably. And there was a rabbi, there was a little cottage on the property, and there was a rabbi that would come and stay in the cottage from time to time, kind of do his solitary spiritual searching in that place. And the monks would kind of always know he was there. It's not like he came up and said, "Hey, I'm here, how are you doing?" But there would just be something. They would somehow just feel his presence. It had been so many years, and little signs would appear, and they would say, "Oh, the monk is here. I mean, the rabbi is here. The rabbi is with us again." And the abbot, who was the senior monk at the monastery, after a while, he would leave the rabbi to his solitary prayer and time alone. He knew that was why he came. But after a while, he would wander down and say, let's one night before you leave again, let's get together for a meal. And the rabbi would agree, and they would set a time. And so the abbot went down to meet the rabbi, and they were, they had some dinner, and they talked about what had things that had transpired since the last time they were together, and they laughed and they cried, and they had a wonderful friendship of many years. And when they were about to part, the old monk said to the rabbi, there's one thing I wish that you could tell me. He said, our monastery is dying. It's dying, and I'm worried. We're getting older. We can't do as much. Young men don't seem to be interested in being monks anymore, and what are we going to do? And the rabbi said, I know, the synagogue, it's the same way, and I'm not sure what to tell you, but one thing I can tell you is the Messiah is among you. Now, in both of their traditions, Messiah is a pretty big deal, right? It's the great savior, the great liberator of the people. For the abbot, it was Jesus and waiting for the return of Jesus. For the rabbi, it was waiting for whomever that might be. But even waiting for Jesus, for the rabbi, we don't know how or who that's going to look like. And so the monk walked back up to the monastery pondering this question. And so the other monks were there when he got back, and they said, So what's up? What did the rabbi say? And he said, well, he really didn't have too many suggestions, except that he did say, the Messiah is one of us. And they all their eyes got big, and they wow, well, that's something new. And they weren't quite sure they believed it, but in the days and months that followed, they started to think about it. And each one of them was thinking about it when they would be in their solitary, in their rooms. He really meant one of us. Oh, probably the abbot. He's been our leader for more than a generation. And he's so wise. On the other hand, maybe he meant Brother Thomas. I mean, Brother Thomas is a holy man. He's a man of light. They couldn't have meant Brother Elred. I mean, he gets really cranky at times. But come to think of it, he's almost always right. We kind of hate that, but he is. He's almost always right. Surely not Brother Philip. I mean, Brother Philip is so quiet and passive. Half the time we hardly know he's there. But then again, Brother Philip always shows up when you need him. He's always there. He's always there for his friends, for his fellow monks. Maybe it is Brother Philip. And they started to think, well, who might have this gift? Who might this be? Could it even be me? Surely not. Surely not. It could not possibly be me. But then again, I mean, maybe I've been gifted with this and I just don't know. And the more they thought about it, the more they started to treat each other with respect and with seeing that kind of holy light coming from everyone's eyes. And when they went out into the town, they started to treat the people in the town that way. They thought, well, maybe he didn't just mean among us, maybe he meant among us. And more young men started to get interested in joining the monastery. It became a much livelier place, with everyone thinking that everyone they talked to might be the Messiah. So there's a joke that goes around about Unitarian Universalists that says, someone says, well, is it true that Unitarian Universalists deny the divinity of Jesus? And Unitarian Universalist says, no, we don't deny the divinity of anybody. And so I think the way that we go forward, even in these really troubled times, is that we try to look for that spark in each other, and we try to remember that spark that's within us, and that we can see it in each other. I think that is how we do this, even when it's hard. Thank you.
You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. Sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. You gotta clap when the Spirit says clap. When the Spirit says clap, you gotta clap right along. Clap when the Spirit says clap. You gotta hum when the Spirit says hum. When the Spirit says hum, you gotta hum right along. You gotta snap when the Spirit says snap. You gotta snap when the Spirit says snap. When the Spirit says snap, you gotta snap right along. Snap when the Spirit says snap. You gotta swim when the Spirit says swim. You gotta swim when the Spirit says swim. When the Spirit says swim, you gotta swim right along. Swim when the Spirit says swim. You gotta stomp when the Spirit says stomp. You gotta stomp when the Spirit says stomp. When the Spirit says stomp, you gotta stomp right along. Stomp when the Spirit says stomp. Whoa! You gotta hush when the Spirit says hush. You gotta hush when the Spirit says hush. When the Spirit says hush, you gotta hush right along. Hush when the Spirit says hush. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. Sing when the Spirit says sing. Hey, when the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing right along. Sing when the Spirit says sing. Yeah, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Oh, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. And you gotta stop when the Spirit says stop. Thank you very much. I think I can even hear some ducks singing today in the audience.
Good morning. For today's meditation, let yourself find a comfortable position, a position in which your body can be balanced and your spine straight. Begin with a deep, comfortable breath, shifting your attention to your heart space. And imagine breathing in and out of your heart. Allow your breath to deepen and slow. Allow your breath to be soft and kind. As you pause today in this sacred time and place, reflect. As I survey the long and winding path of my life's journey, I sometimes feel that I have missed so much. I have often turned my focus to small and narrow concerns, while life's grand display of beauty has passed me by. At other times, I have been mesmerized by what seemed great issues and have missed the small and simple joys that are woven so generously into daily life. I have often turned my focus towards the changing waves of inner feelings, only to miss real opportunities for positive change that arise before me. At other times, I have been lost in endless outer tasks, while my inner feelings sought to reveal my truth. I've often focused on my personal needs and found myself closed to the call of beloved community. At other times, I have opened so far to the needs and desires of others that I have lost sight of my own boundaries and limitations. How can I embrace life more fully? It seems that any way I choose, within or without, self or other, above, below, large or small, I lose some part of life that longs for wholeness. In this sacred moment, I listen for the wisdom of the heart. There is a deeper way of knowing, kind and clear. What I have seen is not a fragmented world that loses wholeness through my choice. I am witnessing the ancient rhythms of life itself. As waves rise and fall, as daylight yields to darkness and then returns, as seasons follow one another, as all things move upon the wheel of change, so too my life is an endless ebb and flow of change, coming and going, arising and falling, expanding and contracting. My task is to look with ever deepening understanding, dancing the rhythm of allowing and letting go, seeing the sacred in all that is. It is only when I hold tightly to what must change that I suffer. It is only when I do not see the circle of life that I am out of tune and out of step. I will follow the way of life itself, embracing expansion and contraction, open space and tender intimacy, the nurturing of self and the healing of beloved community. In this sacred moment, I center in my breath, celebrating its endless changing flow. Breathing in, I touch the source of life. Breathing out, I join its endless changing dance.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you, Miss Susan. So often, a lot of the things that the service is about are summed up in those parts of the service, and that's perfect. I appreciate the effort that you put into both those stories and the meditation. This poem comes from someone named Jeffrey Harrison. He wrote it about a man named Hopkins who was trying to prepare for the priesthood. The title is Custody of the Eyes. To look at the world with devotion, giving all of himself to what was given. Sometimes gave him so much pleasure he thought it must be a sin, distracting him from his devotion to God. Therefore, the eyes for a while had to be taken into custody like a pair of criminals, kept in the flesh and bone cell of the head, their gaze cast down in penitence. The eyes themselves watched over to prevent them from looking at anything more than was needed to get through the day. For weeks or months at a time, and once for half a year, he denied himself the beauty he knew more acutely than others, as if reducing each thing, flower, stone, bird, to a single word, stripping it of the singularity he loved to describe and rushing phrases that spilled down his journal's pages. But when the penance ended, his eyes flew out into the open sky and over the fields, innocently coming to rest on each self-expressing element of creation with such delight and gratitude he couldn't keep the words from pouring out of him. I also wanted to share an article from NPR's Adam Frank. He begins, more than 2 centuries ago, the great poet William Blake offered the world the most extraordinary of possibilities. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Yeah, that would be nice. Unfortunately, most of us don't know how to hold eternity in the palm of our hands. In fact, most of us feel lucky if we can just hold it together enough until the end of the day. The problem, of course, is that mostly we've lost our minds. And I mean that literally. Our attention is endlessly lost in the endless blur of appointments, to-do lists, worry, concern, and agitation that makes up modern life. Sometimes, however, for the briefest moment, we do pick up a scent that there is something more going on than this daily round of survival. But those moments pass, and waves of mundane urgency swallow us up again, tumbling through the chaos of our day-to-days. We wonder if Blake's vision of a broader, more expansive experience is nothing more than a poet's fancy. Can we really see the universe in a grain of sand, even as we slog through the traffic? Can we really hold infinity in our hands, even as we drop off the kids to violin practice? The answer, I believe, is yes. In fact, I am sure the answer is yes. The connection between the everyday reality we experience and boundless landscapes of cosmic beauty, inspiration, and joy is actually so close, so present for us, It's there in the dust on your car, the mess on your desk, and the swirling water in your sink. How do I know this? Because I am a scientist, damn it, and I know that science, under all its theories, equations, experiments, and data, is really trying to teach us to see the sacred in the mundane and the profound in the prosaic. The trick is in the noticing. And that happens by unpacking the question hidden in Blake's poem. Can we really see the world in a grain of sand? Through the lens of science, we can see how even the smallest thing can be a gateway to an experience of the extraordinary. If only we can practice noticing. We walk past 1,000 natural miracles every day. From the sun climbing in the sky to the arc of the birds seen out our windows. Those miracles are there waiting for us to see them, to notice them, and most importantly, to find our delight in theirs.
You got to do what the Spirit says do. You got to do what the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do what the Spirit says do. 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 You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing. Oh Lord, you got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You got to love when the Spirit says love. You got to love when the Spirit says love. When the Spirit says love, you got to love. Oh Lord, you got to love when the Spirit says love. 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 Spirit says love.
Recently, I was watching something on the television. It was an episode of Women of the Movement. Now, this was a 6-part ABC dramatic series about the murder of Emmett Till, the trial of Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam, and the movement that began as a result of the not guilty verdict that came from the all-white Mississippi jury. In the 4th episode, after death threats had been very vigorously dealt out to both Emmett Till's mother, Mamie Till Mobley, and the other potential witnesses, it took a lot of doing to reach the point where the witnesses were even allowed to testify in the trial. Mamie Till Mobley's uncle, Mose Wright, who was a preacher and an older man, it was from his house that Bryant and Milam kidnapped Emmett. he was allowed to testify. And in this episode, he gives his testimony and is really battered with questions and kind of picked apart by the defense attorneys. In a scene after that happens, after they've done everything they can to dishonor his testimony, Mamie's Uncle Mose is standing on the courthouse steps with her. And she was thanking him so much for giving his testimony. And he says he had his head bowed so long that he had forgotten how to see the sky. And when he looked up to see the heavens and how beautiful they were, he knew he had to keep his head up. He knew he had to testify. At that point, Milam and Bryant walk out of the courthouse, free of on their own recognizance. Mamie and Mose see him. And when they see them walk by, Uncle Mose says, "It ain't easy looking up." Of course, he was speaking about the unimaginably heavy weight of oppression in that time, the severity of consequences that were meted out if Black people even made eye contact with whites, especially Black men with white women. We could have long discussions about how much things have and have not changed since then. And just for the record, some of those kinds of discussions happen at Together We Win Network breakfast meetings and in our Together Louisiana assemblies, as well as in our own religious education classes. Far less has changed than we have hoped or perhaps believed if we have had the benefit of enjoying middle-class access or the blinders of white privilege. Those and other circumstances know it all too well, up close and personally. The truth of the injustice of that trial is well documented. But that scene really struck me. I cannot imagine what it was like to live in those circumstances, or what it is like to live in similar circumstances. The defendants, protected by double jeopardy laws, later confessed in a Look magazine interview. We still ache for equal treatment under the law. We still have so much left to do. The thought can make us weary. After watching that scene, it stayed with me. Images of people with their eyes averted or gazing down or slumped stature kind of crossed my mind in a number of different ways. And I began to think of a lot of different ways and reasons that people have their eyes focused downward. Sometimes we cast our eyes down in sorrow or shame or weariness, or to honor something like the Queen, reverence, like in prayer. We may look down a great deal as a part of focused attention on what we're working on, the old nose to the grindstone thing, so to speak. We may look down in embarrassment. We may be cast downward or kind of slumped, trying not to be seen, sneaking around, or simply out of shyness maybe humility. But like the reading from NPR's Adam Frank pointed out, what we see when we look down is a matter of attention and noticing. We can look down from the balcony, like we've talked about a lot here, when we're trying to come up with a vision for the church and make things clearer on how the systems that we already have operate. We call it looking from the balcony. And I think that's what William Blake was talking about, you can still look down, but have a distant perspective, something that's more inclusive, something that opens up and is broadened. Looking up at a certain level, we begin to view the chaos and cruelty, the brokenness, the neglect, the injustice, the superficiality, the greed, the conflict that's in this world. And if we look too far ahead, we can get completely tripped up, break our necks, tripping over something as simple as a crack in the sidewalk. We don't want to feel the discomfort of what we see in the world, or often the discomfort in our own lives and history. Our responses are to numb out, shut down, fill the space with cravings, pleasures, or comforts, something, anything to get our mind off of the things that are uncomfortable. Or we become aggressive with ourselves or with other people. We look for a place that feels safer to us, a posture or mental space that cocoons us. The problem is that is our ego at work, shutting us off from the very things that allow us to be open and present. I think the kind of looking up that Uncle Mose was talking about, Reverend Wright, was that openness and that presence that has already learned to sit with the discomfort. Pema Chodron, who I talk about from time to time, especially during our world religions period or season here at the church, talks about something called Shenpa. She learned it from one of her teachers, Zegar Kanchal Rinpoche. And she's done several series on this, SHENPA. And what she talks about, and I'm barely going to touch on this, and I encourage you to look into it. One of the series is called Getting Unstuck. But Pema Chodron talks about how Shenpa is that hooked feeling, that thing that catches us and has a sticky quality about it, whether it's something that triggers us to be angry, or something that triggers us to feel bad about ourselves, or something that makes us want to get busy or go buy something or do something that feels good. Just all of these things that move us away from actually experiencing the feeling that we're having. It's habitual behavior that takes patience and practice and a sense of humor to get through. One of the stories she tells is that she had gone through every meditation practice she knew, trying to deal with an uncomfortable feeling that had come when someone quit speaking to her that she had been good friends with. And she sat all night going through all of these experiences, all of these different meditation techniques, until finally she came to the realization that being with that discomfort was the way through the discomfort, and she had a breakthrough. The techniques that she talks about are, certain kinds of meditation. And like we've talked about before, there are a zillion different sorts of meditation and different practices we can do. But if they distract us from the root of our own feelings, those things that sit beneath the content, it doesn't have to do with what happens or the other people, it's our feelings. That feeling that we're trying not to have, that we have to learn to recognize, that we have to refrain from all the things that would take us out of that feeling, and resolve ourselves to sit with it and stay present until we can break through it. Then we see beyond the cruelty. Then we see the openness and the beauty of the heavens. Then we see what Uncle Mose came to understand after he stood up in his testimony. It softens our gaze. It gives us confidence. It brings a joy of seeing clearly rather than using clarity to be hard on ourselves, thinking we see what's going on, thinking we understand. Learning to stay is the basis of compassion and humility. If we see our own minds and how busy they are and how uncomfortable we are with them, how they work, we find out there is not reason for arrogance, even if we think about people that we think we know better than. Because with all the Shinpa we have, that we are responding to perpetually in our own lives, we come to understand that others are operating from the same kinds of old tapes, compulsions, and evasions. If we can stay, if we can look farther and broader, we can come to see with eyes that love life, eyes that dare to love humankind in all its brokenness, and dare to hold and share the vision of beauty, of peace, of compassion, justice, and abundance. Then we have something to sustain us, to buoy us, and maybe help us buoy others. May we have the patience. May we develop the practices that help us recognize, refrain, and remain, even though it ain't easy looking up. May we not be afraid. That's our closing hymn. If you know it, sing along, okay? Two, three.
I will not be afraid, for I know my hope in its justified. I know revelation still unfolds. I will not be ashamed. I will open my soul
justified, I know. Revelation still unfolds. I will not be ashamed. I will open my soul to the mystery beyond my control. The love that makes this broken world whole. Not afraid of the love that makes this whole world whole. As we go forward into this frightening, exhilarating, confusing, miraculous world, may we offer our comfort to the afflicted, our love to those who are lonely, and our wish for all to be safe. As we leave this community of the Spirit, may we remember the difficult lesson that each day offers more things than we can do. May we do what needs to be done, postpone what does not, and be at peace with what we can be and do. Therefore, may we learn to separate that which matters most and that which matters least of all. May we have the courage and character to look up when it's hard. May we have the wisdom and vision, patience and tenacity to continue looking down, up, or forward, inside and out, until we see the full view as we look in every direction. I hope you have a good week. Thanks for being here. Go in peace. Ashe. Amen. Blessed be.
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do. Spirit says do. Spirit